The question is that Clause 18 stand part of the bill. Lord Moylan.
My Lords, I stand to move that Clause 18 do not stand part of the bill, and I also wish to move that Clause 19 do not stand part of the bill, and with your Lordship's permission I shall speak briefly to both motions at the same time and once only. Both Clause 18 and Clause 19 are concerned with information which is to be extracted from local transport authorities, but also from bus operating companies. I'm perfectly happy with the notion that we should try to have as much information in the public domain as possible. And of course, I don't intend, as I think noble lords will understand, that these clauses should disappear entirely. This is a probing amendment, so to speak, to try and find out exactly what the government thinks it's doing in this regard. I'll speak very briefly to them. The first is that quite a lot of the information that is being sought here, not least on the question of the cost of particular routes and the revenues per routes, would be commercially sensitive information belonging to a particular company. And the fact that Clause 19 allows that to be published in the name of the company is very significant. You have to remember that these companies may well be operating a route for a particular local transport authority and another route in an adjacent area in an entirely commercial sense, very close by. And the information that's being sought of them can have real commercial consequences. There's nothing here that gives me assurance that their entitlement to have their commercial information protected is being respected by the government in what they're proposing. I'd also say there are some difficulties about acquiring this information. Having had a long association with the Board of Transport for London, I'm trying to think of a bus route in London where TfL could produce the cost of a particular route and the revenue for a particular route just like that. I mean, that isn't entirely how bus services operate normally. Revenues perhaps, but costs come down to a lot of questions about cost allocations that are can be highly contentious. So quite apart from the difficulty of extracting this information, the main purpose here in these two motions that the clauses do not stand part of the bill relates to the protection of commercial confidentiality, to which private companies are entitled. There are circumstances in which one can imagine private companies choosing not to bid because their existing business would be threatened by the information that they'd be required to produce about particular routes. So I think it is very clear, I think it's very important that the government should be clear about its intentions and what it's expecting here and how it's going to protect that information before we proceed with them as drafted on the face of the bill.